Over that weekend's activity that we just experienced, it was a long bus ride, and you add a 4-hour weather delay in the process, you get a little bit of a feeling for what we've gone through. But I was telling our team this morning, we did get back together this morning, that I was actually proud of the way they handled the whole affair, because it was a tough deal. But we got to play a little bit better. Didn't play quite as well on defense. I think we ate too many chicken sandwiches or something before we went out there and played, because we had a little bit of I guess uncertainty about when we were going to play, and we finally had to figure out how to do something for our guys because of the fact that they've gone so long without anything to eat. So we gave them something to eat, and just about the time we gave them something to eat, we run out there and play. So I think we probably played better, especially on offense, than we did in the previous week. But our defense was not quite up to par. So it was a tough game for us. I got to give Louisiana Tech was better than the team we played before. There's no doubt about that. The Higgins guy, we hadn't seen him on film, but he was really good, quarterback. And they got some wide receivers. Taylor Kid was really good. They had some guys that could play. And you add to the fact that they were just good enough on defense to get us slowed down. I think kind of gave them a chance to kind of get away from us a little bit. But it was a good experience. You get a chance to see your team under some of the most adverse of situations. And, I thought we reacted pretty well to that. So we're on about the next part of this 3-week, schedule from where.
Questions?
And speaking of that, you're going to Death Valley against Clemson coming up. Perhaps they seem a little bit vulnerable with how they played offensively. Does that give you guys any hope? You're just trying to go in there and compete the best you can against the number 5 team in the nation?
I think we know enough about Clemson to understand that they've probably not played as well as they can play. It'll be interesting to see how they react to us. Generally, when we go in those kind of places, those guys aren't really paying attention that much. You think that they'd be, kind of just see if we can get these guys behind us so we can move on to bigger, better things. But I think this may give them a little different sense of maybe a sense of urgency. I really do get the feel that they'll try to really get after us. And we're going to try to do the same to them, but at the same time, they'll get after it. Might be a little bit different from our get after it. So we got our work cut out for us.
You see anything from Troy that can kind of help you guys go into this matchup?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, with the schedule I just got through going through, I hadn't seen much of anything from anybody. At this point, I just got a chance to get through all of our teams. I'm on my way back now to really get a chance to study. I saw a little bit of Troy. They hadn't been quite as impressive as I would have thought, that they would need to be to do what they supposedly did to Clemson. But at the same time, I would say they played very well. We'll try to see if we can use some of those things, I'm sure, that we saw Troy be effective with. But at this point, I'm not quite up to speed yet.
How do you balance the travel schedule you guys have been going through with this crazy schedule you're facing every Saturday as well, too? It's been so challenging to be, like you mentioned, before the first week in UCF. Yeah. How are you bringing the team along, keeping them rested and ready for these moments?
That's sort of our mission, to try to do all of what we're doing here and still be somewhat fresh and able. We think that we've done a pretty good job. And we had a pretty good deal going until we had that weather delay. We didn't get back here until 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And we had planned on being back in about the noontime. So then we go from there. Our coaches got right off that bus and started to try to see if they could work on trying to finish out that game, because it takes about maybe a half a day to actually go through and evaluate and grade and do all the kind of stuff you got to do to put that to bed. So we got that done last night. So they got out of here about 7:30, 8 o'clock last night. Then we were back this morning for a 7:15 team meeting. And at that point, we went through it with the team and got a chance to kind of go through it with them a little bit. So now we're on about the task of preparing for Clemson. But let's face it, we've got our issues this way. This is going to be a tough preparation for us. But we'll be, by tomorrow this time, we'll be pretty much up to speed. And we'll practice in the morning. That's one of the good things about the morning practices, though. It gives a chance to practice during the time of the day where you don't bleed them quite as much, as far as the energy level is concerned. So I think we'll be okay by the time we get to Friday.
Coach, how's the team handling the first 2 weeks, and obviously another big gauntlet? I mean, this is a tough schedule, as you mentioned. I mean, from a spirit standpoint and a psyche standpoint, how's this team holding up?
Pretty good. We knew going into these 3 games that it'd be tough. And you know, our guys have tried to go with the main purpose of getting better each week. We really want to try to continue to improve this team and to stay healthy too. We've gotten a couple guys banged up, and that's a little bit of a concern. We've got a guy too that's had some other kinds of medical kinds of issues that's kind of hurt us a little bit. But if we can continue to just be a little bit better each week, and it's going to be hard to measure that, you know, against these guys this week, but if we can continue to be a little bit better, get a little bit better idea about how we ought to go about handling our business, and I think that in 3 weeks will have been a success.
How do you go about evaluating the tape and if guys are getting better? Because you kind of look at the numbers sometimes. It might be tough from an average fan standpoint to say, hey, I'm seeing improvement.
Yeah. Well, this past week we scored 24 points on offense and didn't score any the previous week. So that was pretty obvious, the fact that we had some success there. We didn't play nearly as good on defense, of course, so you worry a little bit about the balance there. But at the same time, you know, you take every little positive that you can find, you know, and try to see if you can maybe accentuate that a little bit, see if that, make that the emphasis as opposed to, you know, think about some of the negatives.
What was on offensive work this week that didn't work the week before?
Well, we ran the football a little bit better. I thought our offensive line played a little bit better. Caleb did a nice job of getting into some pretty good situations as far as the throw game is concerned. I thought we overall played better offensively than we did the previous week. And our tempo was a little bit different. You know, we tried to work hard on trying to see if we could maybe, you know, change that around a little bit. We didn't really like the way we moved around in the Central Florida game. So that was a big point of emphasis this past week. And you know, I thought that was a big hit for us.
From a scheming standpoint, I mean, you guys have experience playing Clemson. Not only that, you have 2 coaches on the staff that regularly played Clemson when they were at USC. I mean, just from a preparation standpoint, do you feel like you'll have these guys in a really good position really to try to do some things, even though it's going to be really an uphill battle at Memorial Stadium?
Well, you know, that's what you'd hope. You know, when you hire guys such as this, you know, you think it gives you a little bit of a, you know, inside look at how some of the other people do it when they compete against these guys. You know, we just have to see. You know, I don't know. We'll see.
What have they brought to the staff so far?
Well, both guys, you know, are fantastic football coaches first, and then you add to the fact that they're mature guys who've seen the ins and outs, how things ought to be done, how some things should be done. You know, when you're trying to compete against some of the kind of school we can try to compete against. So I think they give us a sense of understanding of some of the things that's common and customary in the game as it's done in those kind of styles today.
Is there anything from past matchups in Clemson that kind of stick out to you?
Say it again now.
Any past matchups in Clemson that kind of stick out to you past games?
Well, you know, you don't realize I was a part of push-off game, right? You know, I was on that staff and it tickles me because my daughter-in-law, who's a big Clemson fan, all her family, you know, they don't call it a push-off. So we have those push-off, no, it wasn't a push-off kind of deal. So that's about as big a member as I got in my lifetime for dealing with Carolina Clemson.
But as far as being at South Carolina State, I mean, what do you tell guys that haven't played there about getting ready to go in this challenge?
Well, you know, I think we at South Carolina State feel like it's an opportunity for us to go and show ourselves against some of the better, you know, one of the better football teams. We say a bunch that the reason Javon Hargraves is where he is now is because of what happened with him the time that he was there. He played really well against the Clemson guys. And the Clemson guys said that. They said that he was one of the better players that they have been against. So, you know, in situations like that, it gives you a chance to legitimize yourself. You know, our guys know that when they go into these settings, you know, everybody sees it. So you better be on your best behavior.
You talk about that, just Clemson's defensive front, for all the offensive issues right now, defensively, they still look very strong. For a guy like Caleb York still getting settled in as your starting quarterback, even though he's coming off a good week. I mean, this is going to be quite the challenge for him to try to handle against a Tiger front. You talk about getting after it, look out.
Well, you know, the Clemson front's been a tough deal for us to deal with in general over the years that we've played them. And we hadn't been very successful in blocking them, in all honesty. So, you know, that'll be a great challenge for us. You know, that'll be what we'll be up against, and knowing what we've had, you know, as far as success is concerned in the previous year. So, you know, it'll be what we got to figure out. That part right there, you know, I don't know what we can do yet, but I can tell you this, we better figure something out because these guys are rough as up, you know.
What's the players' mentality as everything's going right now? They're getting geared up for a game like this, in-state, Death Valley. What are you telling them to keep them calm, but also to use those emotions to help
well, you
them?
tell them I'm a bull too. You know, I'm also a guy, you know, who can go out and get after it. And it's not sometimes when I talk to these guys, you know, what you can be individually. You is how we fit together and can actually cooperate to be able to, defend or to move the football or to be successful offensively against a team such as this. So, it tests your togetherness. It tests all the different kinds of things that you got to be a pretty good football team. And I think it's a good thing in that way. The stress of it all, gives you an opportunity to be something that that you really want to be if you got it in you. If not, of course, the rest is history.
Just from getting this team ready and sort of like your final preseason game before the games really matter for what you guys ultimately want to accomplish this season. What do you want to see out of these guys this week before your real season gets underway?
Well, what I'm hoping is that the sense of urgency that this part of the schedule has created for us will benefit us in ways that we can actually see we can draw on from, for the rest of the season that way. If we can move to a level that we can compete effectively against these folks, then that means it's all worth it.
Does it help that Clemson struggled its first two games against a team like Troy? Just with these guys' standpoint, they never go again and maybe against. I don't know.
I don't know. And I don't either. I know it doesn't help for them to need any other kind of real reason to get after us. I can tell you that they've got just a general, ability to come out, just knock us crazy if they really decide to be that way. But at the same time, we want them to just come out and just kind of go through, the motions and then get them out of there, which is probably the best case scenario for us. But right now, I'm sure we've got their full attention. Under the circumstances, they want to try to get back on the good foot of sorts. So we'll have our work cut out for us.
How important is it that you have current players that have already played at Clemson already?
I don't know if any of that makes much of a difference. We've got guys that've got all kind of connections. These interstate kind of rivalries. You got nuances that you sometimes don't even realize. So, yeah, it all makes a difference. But at the same time, I think it's all kind of the same.
Other than a W, obviously, what do you think would be a successful
weekend for us is to be better than we were the week before. If we can go out and prove that we actually belong, in this kind of setting, because the operation of it all, with that kind of crowd noise, all other kind of things you got to deal with when you go in these kind of settings, make you have to really be that caliber football team in order to be successful. So that's the kind of stuff that we look for to see if we can